The story unfolds by introducing two entirely contrasting families, highlighting the deep socioeconomic divide in society. On one side is a modest, close-knit, and loving middle-class family. Salman and his wife are raising their twins, a responsible, ambitious son named Sarim, and a gentle, soft-spoken daughter named Khani, along with their other daughters, including Sania and Sarah. The household is filled with warmth, where the siblings share playful banter, tease each other over food, and support one another's dreams. On the completely opposite end of the spectrum lies the influential elite family of Mir Shah, a powerful and arrogant politician. His wife, Sitara, is highly class-conscious and heavily involved in social work, though more for political optics than genuine empathy. Their son, Mir Hadi, is a spoiled, hot-tempered, and reckless young man who believes his family's wealth and political power place him above the law and society. A minor incident early on sets the tone for Mir Hadi's untamed privilege. While driving recklessly, Hadi hits a poor man's rickshaw, completely destroying the vehicle and threatening the driver's livelihood. Khani and her sister witness this cruelty on the street. Driven by a sense of justice, Khani tries to confront the situation, but the sheer terror of Hadi's influential background leaves her feeling helpless and shaken. When she returns home in tears, her father comforts her. In a deeply moving conversation, he reassures Khani that her gentle nature, softness, and empathy are not weaknesses. Rather, they are her greatest strengths. Meanwhile, at the Mir mansion, Sitara is furious about Hadi's reckless behavior, especially with upcoming political elections. However, Mir Shah dismisses her concerns, pampering his son's ego and silently covering up his misdeeds by simply buying the poor victim a new rickshaw to keep the media quiet. Amidst the family's financial struggles, Sarim stands out as their brightest hope. He works incredibly hard and successfully secures a prestigious, fully funded international scholarship to study abroad for 2 years. The news brings immense joy and pride to the household, prompting plans for a double celebration, as the twins' birthday is also around the corner. Sarim encourages his twin sister, Khani, to find her own courage, reminding her that one must be strong to survive in the real world. On the day Sarim leaves to finalize his university paperwork, the atmosphere is filled with optimism. He promises his mother that he will call her the moment everything is officially processed. Fate takes a dark turn outside the university campus. Sarim finds his car completely blocked by another vehicle, which happens to belong to Mir Hadi. Sarim politely requests the guards and Hadi to move the car so he can leave. Blinded by arrogance and offended that an ordinary citizen dared to question him, Hadi reacts with extreme aggression. A heated argument breaks out between the two young men. Despite the intervention of bystanders trying to defuse the situation, Hadi's pride is deeply wounded. In a shocking display of power and rage, Hadi pulls out a gun. Unaware of the tragedy unfolding, Sarim's mother is at home, happily talking on the phone about how proud she is of her son's brilliant future. At that exact moment, Hadi fires multiple shots, brutally gunning down Sarim in broad daylight. The episode closes on a devastating and tragic note, leaving a family's dreams shattered into pieces and setting the stage for an intense battle between justice and corruption. The story picks up in the immediate, agonizing aftermath of the shooting. At home, Sarim's family is eagerly preparing for his birthday, completely unaware of the horror that has transpired. The joyful atmosphere shatters instantly when a phone call delivers the devastating news that Sarim has been rushed to the hospital. Panic-stricken, the family rushes to the clinic, only to be met with the ultimate heartbreak. Sarim has succumbed to his injuries and passed away. The grief that consumes the household is absolute. Sarim's twin sister, Khani, collapses into a state of shock, unable to comprehend how the brother who was just sitting beside her, talking about his bright future, is suddenly gone. As Sarim's body is brought home for the final rituals, his mother and sisters dissolve into uncontrollable tears. His father, Salman, stands broken and defeated, weeping over the shroud of his only son, while neighbors and relatives gather to offer condolences for a tragedy that has shaken their entire community. Meanwhile, the news of the murder spreads like wildfire, igniting a massive public outcry. The media aggressively covers the story, calling out the uncontained privilege of the elite and questioning whether a powerful politician's son will ever face justice. This intense public pressure forces the police to act, and Mir Hadi is taken into police custody. Behind bars, however, Hadi remains utterly unremorseful. He sits in his cell with the same cold, arrogant smirk, completely convinced that his father's influence makes him untouchable. At the Mir mansion, the atmosphere is tense but calculating. Mir Shah is furious, not out of moral outrage, but because his son's reckless actions threaten to ruin his upcoming political election. While Hadi's mother, Sitara, panics over her son's arrest, Mir Shah remains cold and strategic. He visits the cemetery and addresses the media, putting on a grand performance of a responsible, law-abiding politician. He tells the public that he deeply sympathizes with the grieving father and asserts that if his son has committed a crime, he must face the law. In reality, this is a calculated chess move. Behind closed doors, Mir Shah tells his wife that they must act smart, gather public sympathy, and eventually force Sarim's family to sign a waiver or pardon, maafinama, to secure Hadi's release. Back in the middle-class neighborhood, the harsh realities of fighting a corrupt system begin to set in. Close family friends and relatives try to talk to Salman, gently advising him to drop the case. They point out that he has 3 young daughters left to protect, and that waging a war against a ruthless tycoon like Mir Shah will only invite more danger into their lives, with no guarantee of ever getting justice. Adding to their distress, a corrupt lawyer representing Mir Shah's interests arrives at their house under the guise of offering sympathy. He subtly threatens Salman, arrogantly boasting that he can tie up the case in legal loops for years, and that a death sentence for Hadi is impossible. He advises them to settle quietly. Disgusted by the lawyer's shamelessness and disrespect, Salman's brother throws him out of the house. As Sarim is laid to rest, the family returns to a hauntingly empty home. In a deeply emotional moment, Khani goes to her father, who sits utterly devastated by the loss of his only son. Recalling Sarim's final words about the necessity of being brave in a cruel world, Khani holds her father tightly. She makes a solemn, silent promise that she will never let him feel alone or helpless, and that she will find the strength to stand as a pillar of support for her family in their darkest hour. The story continues with the raw, piercing grief of Sarim's family as they try to navigate life after his sudden departure. The house feels suffocatingly quiet, haunted by the memories of the boy who was the center of their universe. Khani stands in the middle of their shared room, looking at Sarim's untouched books, his clothes, and the empty space where he used to sit. The pain is physical, a heavy weight on her chest, but beneath the sorrow, a quiet transformation is taking place. She remembers her twin brother's final advice about finding the courage to face a cruel world. The terrified, timid girl who used to hide behind her siblings begins to fade, replaced by a sister determined to seek justice for her murdered brother. On the other side of the societal divide, the wheels of corruption and privilege turn effortlessly. Mir Hadi remains in police custody, but his imprisonment is a mere formality. He isn't treated like a criminal. He sits comfortably, shielded by his family's immense wealth. His arrogance hasn't waned in the slightest. He views the entire situation as a minor inconvenience, fully expecting his father to wipe the slate clean. For Mir Shah, the priority is entirely political. The media is still buzzing with outrage, and public pressure is at an all-time high. Mir Shah knows that a forced release will ruin his political career, so he refines his strategy to pressure the grieving family into a legal compromise. The emotional core of the story deepens as Salman, broken and physically exhausted by the tragedy, tries to remain strong for his daughters. However, the system is rigged against him. The pressure on the family intensifies from all angles. Influential figures and corrupt intermediaries try to corner Salman, presenting a grim reality. An ordinary middle-class man cannot win a legal battle against a political empire. They urge him to accept blood money or sign the pardon, subtly hinting at the safety of his remaining children. The psychological warfare takes a heavy toll on the parents, who are trapped between their desire for justice and the terrifying fear of losing another child to the ruthlessness of Mir Shah. Khani, witnessing her father's helplessness and the sheer injustice of the world, refuses to let Sarim's memory be erased by wealth and power. She becomes the silent pillar of the house, comforting her grieving mother and holding her father's hand through the mounting despair. When the powerful elite try to flex their muscles to silence them, they are met not with loud opposition, but with the quiet, unyielding dignity of a family that has already lost everything. The battle lines are drawn, proving that while Mir Shah controls the system, he cannot control the spirit of a sister who refuses to let her brother's killer walk free. The narrative progresses as the unbearable weight of Sarim's absence settles deeply over his family, turning their home into a space of profound mourning. His mother and sisters find themselves caught in an endless cycle of grief, where every corner of the house serves as a painful reminder of the bright future that was violently stolen from them. Salman, physically and emotionally shattered by the loss of his only son, tries to anchor his family, but the immense sorrow takes a visible toll on his health. Amidst this heartbreak, Khani forces herself to suppress her own tears. Driven by the memory of her twin brother, she steps up to become the emotional core of the household, quietly absorbing the pain around her to keep her parents from completely collapsing. Meanwhile, the legal and social battle surrounding the murder intensifies. Mir Shah continues to deploy his immense political influence to control the narrative, prioritizing his public image and upcoming election over any sense of morality. Realizing that the public outrage cannot be easily silenced, his camp shifts away from overt intimidation and begins a more insidious psychological campaign against Salman's family. Corrupt intermediaries and sympathetic-sounding messengers are sent to subtly remind the grieving family of their vulnerability. They paint a bleak, realistic picture of the system, warning Salman that pursuing a court battle against an untouchable elite will only lead to endless financial ruin and potential danger for his remaining daughters. Inside his comfortable confinement, Mir Hadi remains completely detached from the gravity of his crime. His chilling lack of remorse reflects a lifetime of unchecked privilege, as he views the entire murder and its aftermath merely as an irritating hurdle that his father will eventually clear. He shows no guilt for destroying a family, embodying the absolute arrogance of a class that believes ordinary lives are disposable. The conflict reaches a suffocating peak as Salman's family finds themselves entirely cornered by a rigged system. Every door to genuine justice seems to close as the immense pressure to sign a pardon or accept blood money mounts from all sides. Yet, even as fear threatens to paralyze the household, Khani's quiet resilience becomes their ultimate shield. Facing a powerhouse that expects them to break, the family stands grounded in their grief and dignity, setting up a powerful clash between unyielding elite corruption and the pure, unbreakable spirit of a family seeking justice for their son.